Good afternoon, everyone. Today is June 2nd, 2025. It is 5 o'clock p.m. We are at the Brownsville PUB Annex Building Boardroom. I am calling this meeting to order. Again, at 5 o'clock. We have confirmation of a quorum.
Yes, we do.
We do have a quorum. At this time, I'd like for everyone to please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance to our flag and our Pledge of Allegiance to our Texas flag. At this time, let's recognize a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is do we have any workshop or public hearings to announce? Where's Ms. Gilbert? Nothing?
None at
Okay.
this time.
Public comments? Any public comments?
No public comments.
Okay, as we move along, we have consent agenda items. We have 9 items for consent. Are there any questions or comments by any of the board members on these 9 items? Discussion?
I move to approve the consent items as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mr. Martinez, a second by Dr. Holman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? This motion passes. Now I'm going to ask that we move item number 8 to the front of the line on the items for individual consideration. Mr. Pequeño, do we have any issues on that?
That's fine. You can change the order of the agenda.
Okay, so if we change the order and bring it up to the front of the line on items for individual consideration, that item is consideration and possible action on selecting a new chairman of the Brownsville Public Utilities Board and any other officers' positions as needed to be effective July 2nd, 2025. So that's the item we have before us. We're moving it to the front. Any discussion by my fellow board members? Any motions? Is Dr. Zamora on?
Hi, yes, I make a motion to appoint Mr. Gerardo Martinez to be chair of the board.
Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Zamora to move Mr. Martinez to become the chair. We have a second.
I'll second that.
We have a second by Dr. Holman. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those against? That motion passes. I think at this time, we also need to take a motion for vice chair of the board. Any motions or discussion?
Yeah, a motion to appoint Al Villarreal as you consider being vice chair.
I second that motion.
We have a motion for Mr. Al Villarreal to become the vice chair of the board, second by Dr. Zamora. Any comment, Mr. Villarreal? Or okay, all those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Congratulations to Mr. Martinez and to Mr. Villarreal. Become the chair and the vice chair. So, at this time, Mr. Pequeño, is it time to move chairs?
Yes, you can go ahead and do that now if you want.
The motion was to after his
that's
term was
right.
over, which is on July the 1st. So right now, you're still our chair unless you all make another motion and make it effective immediately.
Right.
How's the board feel about that?
I think we can wait till,
I think July 2nd sounds good.
It's a final punishment for me. All right, well, I appreciate that, and congratulations again on these two very fine board members. So then we'll move back up to the items for individual consideration. Ms. Gilbert, General Manager's report.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair and Vice Chair. At this time, right now, we have in your board packet the board calendar. In your board calendar, you have the next upcoming meetings. We have a June 18 PubCap meeting. We have our next SRWA board and PUB board meeting on July the 7th. We also have a PubCap meeting on July the 16th, and then followed by the August 4th meeting. There's other events on your packets, and also I'm just going to highlight the holidays. Our offices will be closed on June 19 for Emancipation Day. June 20, we have another holiday, and we have a floating holiday at that point, and then July 4th, Independence Day. At this time, any questions on the other events or holidays?
Any questions, comments on the board calendar for Ms. Gilbert?
Okay. I do have an industry update and PUB update. I just wanted to let you know that staff informed me earlier today that we're currently experiencing some billing issues due to the introduction of a new meter types in our systems. And these new meters are causing compatibility issues with the billing platform, which has delays in some customer bills. We are correcting the affected accounts to ensure the timely billing, and we will provide an update at the next board meeting of the issue at stake. Thank you for your time and consideration, and just right now there are very few accounts. Eventually, the full billing cycle will be up to date
Ms. Gilbert, when did y'all learn about this?
within the last few weeks, actually before, not before the last board meeting, but maybe about a week and a half ago.
And this is being broadcast through our social media platform?
The customers that are currently being affected, my understanding from staff this morning was that there was a bill insert that indicated what the issue was, that their bills was delayed. Some customers have informed us that they did not receive their bills, and so they were doing that, and we are aware of the issue. We just want to make sure that all of the customers are aware that we know the concern and the delay in the billing, and the billing has been corrected. We are aware of the issue.
Thank you. The next item, we don't have any items pulled out of a consent for discussion, so I'll mark off 2. We'll go to number 3, staff reports and presentations to the board. Our first one is announcement of the 2025 Brownsville Public Utility Board Project Share Scholarship recipients. Miguel Colis. Miguel here? Who's presenting that, Ms. Gilbert? All right.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, board members. So I'll be presenting on behalf of Mr. Collis. He had a family emergency. So I'm very excited about this project. This is actually my first time presenting about the Share Scholarship. So this year, for the past 18 years, BPUB has been provided to high school seniors scholarships to continue with their education. Approximately for the past 18 years, we have had 187 recipients, totaling $183,500 in total scholarships. Today, we're honored to have here all of the awardees, and of course, we would like for all of you to take a picture with them. And let me just explain you a little bit about the criteria and how they were selected. So for the requirements, of course, they had to fill out an application. They had to be living in a house where we were providing BPUB services, must be graduating from high school from 2024 to 2025 during this school year, and they need to be already admitted in a university here in the United States. Follow that, we also have an evaluation committee review in which they evaluated their GPA, extracurricular activities, community service, and essay as well. And from that evaluation, we selected the top 10 winners. And I'm glad to introduce you, well, in total, we have 10 winners for a $2,000 scholarship, each of them. And if each of them, please, if each of you can please stand up as I mentioned you, so you can come here to the front and join us for a picture. So the first one is Ms. Marbella Rivera from Gladys Porter High School, and Ms. Mariana Lopez from Veterans Memorial Early College High School, Mr. Diego Padilla from Porter Early College High School, Ms. Brianna Bracken from Veterans Memorial, Ms. Ashley Michelle Carvajal from James Pace Early College High School, Mr. Luis Aranda from Veterans Memorial High School, Ms. Renata Treviño from Veterans Memorial High School, Ms. Samantha Ambris from Hanna High School, Mr. Adrian Garcia from Veterans Memorial High School, and Ms. Ruby Rodriguez from Simon Rivera Early College High School.
Thank you.
So at this moment, I would like to invite the board to join us here for a picture with the awardees and our executive team as well, please.
Okay, let's go.
And by the way, for those of you who were not present, thank you, Dr. Holman, for stopping by at the PubCap celebration. And we did have a small cupcake and to meet some, talk to some of the recipients.
Mayor, would you like to make any comments for these scholarship recipients?
I think they're walking out, but we're all very proud of you. Go
Don't leave.
go get your education and come back to Brownsville. We need you to continue, all the growth we're having. And so, again, congratulations and keep up the great work.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's move on to presentation and discussion of the Brownsville Public Utility Board financial performance reports. This was always very exciting, Mike.
Yes, I'll
Mr.
try to keep
Pettis.
it brief. So good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Mike Pettis. I'm the Chief Financial Officer, and I'll be presenting the financial performance report as of April 30, 2025. So here we've got the executive summary, which focuses on 7 categories. Each category has its own gauge meter, red representing poor, yellow average, and green is good. So on the flow of funds, PUB did generate $2,631,000 to replenish the improvement fund year to date, with a debt service coverage of 2.23 times, which is well above the 1.25 times minimum requirement. The fuel purchase and energy charge has generated an over-recovery of just over $21 million as of April 30th, and this will be used to offset some future market uncertainty. The COB cash transfer is a little lower than budgeted due to a decrease in adjusted gross revenues. We did see the cash transfers down $100,000 from budget, but they are actually $500,000 above prior year's levels. On the personnel and non-personnel expenses, those came in lower than budgeted, about $4.7 million, and primarily due to some current vacancies and timing issues. BPUB's average bill is lower than both the average MOU bill and the average IOU bill for the 1,000 kWh user. That average electric bill is at $111.26. The CIP year-to-date actuals and committed total $26.3 million and $42.6 million respectively, which represent combined 90.6% of the fiscal year 25 approved plan. So we're doing good there. And all key financial metrics are currently in compliance. And so here we've got a condensed statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. And so in the interest of time, I'm just going to focus on the April 25 year-to-date column. So operating revenues were $127,208,000. We back out operating expenses of $110,574,000 and arrive at operating income of $16,634,000. Backing out the non-operating expenses of $10,835,000, we end up with income before capital contributions of $5,798,000. We then add in the capital contributions of $9,132,000 and end up with an increase in net position year-to-date of $14,930,000. Adding this to the net position at the beginning of the fiscal year, we end up with a net position at the end of the year of $490,067,000. And so here we've got a condensed summary of revenues and expenses and the flow of funds. This is in accordance with the bond ordinance. We're starting off operating revenues. We have $121,368,000. Other revenues were $14,238,000, bringing total gross revenues to $135,606,000 year to date. We then back out the fuel and the Southmost Regional Water Authority contributions of $42,865,000 and arrive at adjusted gross revenues of $92,741,000. This is the basis for the 10% city Brownsville transfer calculation. So the city is entitled to $9,274,000. We then back out the other requirements for the O&M, non-operating and debt service of $72,185,000 and arrive at a balance available after requirements of $20,555,000. We then back out the total cash utility benefit to the city of Brownsville at $9,274,000, and we end up with a balance available for transfers out or PUB uses of $11,281,000. That $11 million was then used to fund our CIP and other reserve requirements of $8,650,000, leaving a balance to replenish the improvement fund of $2,631,000. And here again, our debt service coverage ratio is at 2.23 times debt service. So that completes my presentation. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any comments? Mr. Nahara, Mr. Rosado? Questions for Mr. Pettis? Thank you, Mr. Pettis.
Thank you.
Next item for our presentation and discussion on the RFP for the commercial paper irrevocable letter of credit provider and debt overview. Mr. Pettis and Mr. Noe Hinojosa.
Yes, so good evening again. So BPUB is on its third and final year of a 3-year agreement with PNC Bank as the letter of credit provider for BPUB's commercial paper program. The agreement is due to expire November 7th, 2025. As a result, we issued and advertised an RFP for a new letter of credit provider this past 2 Saturdays. The proposals are due June the 18th. With us today, we have Noe Hinojosa with Estrada Hinojosa to provide an overview of BPUB's commercial paper program, a review of a timeline for the RFP process, and to provide a debt overview and potential revenue bond refunding opportunity. Mr. Hinojosa.
Thank you, Mr. Pettis. Noe Hinojosa with Estrada Hinojosa and Company. Good afternoon. Congratulations. I know Mr. Rendon had a lot of fun being chairman, so welcome to the hot seat, Mr. Martinez. In any event, thank you for the opportunity to come before you. How does this move up and down?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, there it is. Got it. Thank you. So basically, the PUB has had this commercial paper program of about $100 million. It was instituted back in 2013, and you use it similar to what you and I would do with a credit card or a bridge loan when you're doing a mortgage financing or building a new home. You go and get an interim line of credit or letter of credit, and you use that cash or that tool, that financing mechanism, so that once you're done with the construction, you go out and fix it out over long term. And that's what the PUB has done over many years. You'll be in the next couple of weeks or so, you'll be hearing from your staff on CIP, on your IRP, and all of those projects may need funding in a very quickly fashion. You can't access the markets the way you can access this line of credit. So in anticipation of you having capital needs, in anticipation of having events of God that can happen, instead of hitting your liquidity reserves, you hit this commercial paper. Currently, the PUB has about $30 million outstanding of the $30 million used out of the $100 million. So this commercial paper program needs to be extended for possibly another 10 years, the way we did the original one. So whatever actions take place today, we got to then go to the city commission and get their consent. We're anticipating, as Mr. Perez indicated, responses from a liquidity provider. There are two players that help you with the enforcement or the use of this letter of credit. One is the liquidity provider, which is someone who stands there in case the marketing agent, who happens to be JP Morgan, can now sell these notes whenever your staff calls and says, I need $5 million. If he can't place the $5 million, then the liquidity provider comes in and says, here's a check for $5 million, while the marketing agent is placing those $5 million bucks. So there's a fee associated with being a liquidity provider. There's also a fee associated with being a marketing agent. So right now we're looking for, as Mr. Perez indicated, a replacement of the existing PNC. It could very well be PNC again. It's an open process. You'll be hearing from your staff in the next couple of weeks or so, I believe, with a recommendation as to who that will be. We'll be helping them with that process. So in essence, once you approve it, this program right now expires on or about November. So we're hoping that by first or second week of August, we go to the commission, get their consent. If we get it, then we can probably close and have the new program in place by September. But, you know, there are negotiations that occur between now and the commission meeting, and then even after the commission meeting with the LC provider as far as terms and process and so on and so forth. So you just never know, and we're giving ourselves ample room for that. In the meantime, if you go, I don't know if you have this in front of you, but we looked at your debt portfolio, and that's all the mortgages, all the bonds that are currently outstanding at PUB. Today, PUB has about $254 million in outstanding debt, payable over a period of time. And like I said earlier, about $30 million of commercial paper outstanding. So you got about $284 million. So we looked at those bonds issued back in 2015, and there's about $41,680,000 that we can actually refinance for lower interest rates compared to today's markets. Despite the fact that market conditions have been somewhat volatile, you can exchange those bonds for lower interest rates and provide a little bit of savings to the utility. So that, at the same time that we're doing the CP program, we're exploring the refinancing of that debt. So I'll stop, entertain any questions that you all may have.
I have a question, a couple comments. I know, Marilyn, we've been working on a capital needs assessment. Some of our equipment is old. Are we working with Mr. Hinojosa in terms of financial needs for the future?
We've met several times recently, not like in the immediate recently, but probably a few months ago. We talked about our CIP, we talked about the needs, we talked about the various different IRPs, the outcomes that are coming out. The IRP, as you are aware, is not. We have a lot of our plans underway. One of them is our water and wastewater master plan, and that's going to dictate the capital needs of the utility. So those, as soon as we know what those needs are, then we will sit down with him and discuss what it is we need to do. Of course, on SRWA, we have sat down, we've met, and there's various different strategies that we've been closely monitoring and discussing on that, with that aspect to the expansion of SRWA that we would have to go through this board as well as the respective boards of the members of SRWA.
Joseph, any comments on?
No, we saw this during the finance committee meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
So just as a recap, the action items are basically tonight, sort of accept the plan of finance, for lack of a better description, and then we will come back to you on or about July 7th for the ordinance, the actual document that will be given the authority to the issuance of the CP program extension. And then we go to the commission shortly after, on or about July 22nd. And then we sell bonds, hopefully sometime the week of August the 18th, and close on or about September the 10th.
Mayor, any comments? Okay, so this item, Mr. Pequeño, this item, an action item for, to move forward? That requires a vote from the board, or just a presentation?
It was just a presentation.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
just a presentation.
Well, Mr. Nosa, we certainly appreciate you taking the time to come to this board and explain to us. And the refinancing of some bonds, Mike, are y'all working already with Mr. Nosa?
Yes, we are. I'm sorry.
Okay,
That refunding that he alluded to.
okay.
We're just,
All right. Anything else from any of the board members? Any comments? Thank you, Mr. Nosa.
Thank you for your
Appreciate that.
service, sir. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next item. Presentation discussion on the operations and maintenance 6-month budget review. Mr. Santillan?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the board. My name is Jorge Santillan, Finance Manager. I'm going to go over a brief overview of the 6-month budget review process. March 31st marks the halfway point of the fiscal year. This triggers the 6-month budget review that Finance coordinates to ensure that the approved O&M budget is accurate and on track. Once all expenditures have been recorded and the month is closed, Finance staff pulls reports of the approved budget, year-to-date actuals as of March 31st, percent spent, and the previous year's budget and March year-to-date actuals for all departments. Budgets are reviewed by Finance staff, and specific accounts are identified for review based on this percentage spent column and previous year's spending trends, and then forwarded to the departments for their comments. During this process, Finance and the departments have discussions to ensure that their spending levels are on track, and if adjustments need to be made, as this is the time to do so. Interdepartmental transfers may be needed to replenish accounts that are over budget. However, sometimes the department will identify budgeted amounts that will no longer be needed. Once identified, these funds are transferred to the contingency pool so Finance can reallocate if necessary throughout the remainder of the fiscal year. Let me go over now over the overview of the 2025 mid-year O&M budget summary. Beginning on the left side, the total O&M budget, $203 million. The year-to-date actuals shown in the lighter blue, $83.2 million, or 41% of the total budget. That leaves a budget balance of $119.8 million, or 59% of the total budget. Also, at the end of the first half of the year, we have $19.1 million in open purchase orders or commitments, and these will get paid later in the year, and some may be rolled over into the next fiscal year. Moving on the right side, the O&M budget by account type, and this is the classification that we use for budget purposes. Beginning, they're listed from largest to smallest. First, we have the fuel and purchase power. In dark blue, we have the amount of the budget, and then in lighter blue, we have the total spent, and then we have the percentage of budget spent, and that's the percentage that I'm going to go over for each one. For fuel and purchase power, 34.7% at the middle of the year, and this percentage is anticipated at this time of the year since expenses pick up in the second half of the year. Then we have the personal services, that's 47.6%, and this is where it should be, which is 50% or less. And I also would like to point out that these two account types make up 75% of the total O&M budget. Third, the next one, we have the consultant outside services. This includes engineering, legal fees, and software maintenance, 40.6%. Then we have miscellaneous general expenses. This includes obligations to the SRWA and insurance, 48.4%. Materials and supplies, 45.8%. Office expenses includes utilities, training and travel expenses, dues and office supplies, 52.3%. Maintenance, this includes maintenance of equipment, building and structures, 32.6%. Minor tools and equipment includes computer equipment and software licenses, 44.2%. And then transportation, this is for the fuel and fleet maintenance and repairs, 67.5%. Now this classic category is more than 50% where we would like to be at, but we continue to monitor these expenses and we'll transfer additional funding as needed to cover the expenses for the remainder of the year. We also have some other schedules. In this case, we have the non-personnel O&M spending by division, and this excludes the personnel, fuel and purchase energy, and SRWA contributions. The first column, we have the division, and then the 2025 annual approved budget. The next column, we have the FY 2025 year-to-date actuals. This is for the 6 months through March 31st, and then the percentage spent year-to-date as a percentage. So the total approved budget, 42.3 million. The actuals, I'm looking at the last line. Actuals, 18.5 million, and then the percentage spent, 43.8%. This following slides is the same information, but here we added the department for each division. Again, on this is the same totals as previously mentioned. Here we have the fuel and purchase energy by account, the grand total. The budget, 93.2 million. The actuals through March, or for the 6 months, 32.3 million. And the percentage spent, 34.7%. Again, this is as expected. Personnel on spending by account. This is all the personnel services, including taxes and fringe benefits. The budget, 60.1 million. The actuals through March, 28.5 million, and the percentage spent, 47.6. Also, as we previously mentioned, sometimes there's a funding that is not needed for the remainder of the year, and departments notify us, so then we do the transfer to contingency. In this case, we have 2 transfers. One is from the power production, and this is due to budgeted O&M projects that are not anticipated to be completed in the current year. More likely, the request is going to be submitted for the next fiscal year. The amount of this request was $548,944. Also, there was another request to transfer to contingency from the water plant for $44,360. Any questions?
George, go back 2 slides before that last slide, right there. Talk to me a little bit about 260 vacancy savings. It's $2.5 million. Those are vacancies that the utility is carrying?
Yes, these are the vacancies that there's during the budget, we know there's always vacancies, so we estimate how much is those estimates, the value of those vacancies. In this case, when we adopt the budget, this is the amount that we calculate as anticipated savings from those vacancies. So this is reduced. We know we always have vacancies, so this is to account for those vacancies.
Marilyn, could you give us a value of these vacancies and a description of the vacancies that represent this $2.5 million?
I'm going to have to go back and come back, but I can provide that at a later time with the
I just
actual
think it's
value.
important for the board to understand that y'all are carrying this fund, and we understand that, but you're also carrying the vacancies. I'm sure some are critical, and perhaps some are not. So I would appreciate that, if you would share that with the board in the future.
We will.
Anything else? Any comments from anyone?
Can you go back one slide? So that there's a 7738. There's a $2.3 million credit.
The credit, I don't know the answer on that one, Mike.
Negative congestion.
The 2.3 million credit.
So that's a 5.8 million swing, like net effect, right?
We don't have the specifics right now. We can give and provide you an actual presentation on these are looks like congestions costs, unless somebody from our fuels group is here to provide how the numbers was doing it. So I have somebody from, this is our Director of Power Supply. I'm not sure if you all have met him in the past, so.
Yeah, so what we've seen in the market is just a lot of congestion, and that is in our benefit.
Wait, that is in what? Sorry, I missed the last bit of that.
So congestion is in our favor, which means that there has been separation in price between our resource node and the load zone, and that's been in our favor, so.
Well, I guess that's a good thing.
Is that primarily due to is that because of the transmission lines we own? Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, anything else? Mr. Martinez?
Yeah, I guess just in general, are there any concerns? At this point, I think the 6 month is just checking in, right, where we
Yeah.
are based on budget.
No concerns at this time. We're, overall, we're led at close to 50%. I believe we're below 50%, so there's no concerns at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Marilyn, what is the name of the new staff member? What's his position?
Yes, Mr. Corey Caldwell is coming from us from ERCOT, and so he started a few months back. And Mark, would you like to provide the rest?
Sure. If I can give a eulogy for a guy that's sitting next to me. So Corey joined us, I believe, mid-February, prior to joining Brownsville. He was with ERCOT there, and before that, he was with Pedernales Electric Cooperative and another place called Austin Energy. He's an electrical engineer and a strong background in trading and system operations within ERCOT.
I didn't want to put him on the spot. We welcome you to Brownsville and to the Public Utility Board and to the South Texas heat, but maybe it's no cooler or hotter than Austin.
Yeah,
or Central Texas.
just more humid.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any other
it's good-
comments for the?
Yeah, just as good that we got to know you through savings, so hopefully there'll be more, more of that in the future.
We're going to associate him with good things, savings. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, Ms. Gilbert, we'll move on to the next item, which is presentation discussion on the fiscal year 2026 budget calendar. Mr. Santillan again, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yes, that time of the year where we start with our annual budget process for the FY 2026, and the process starts in late May until budget adoption planned for early September. Now, each task in the calendar leads to the next event, and for this reason, it's important to stay on schedule. And looking at the calendar, some of the key dates, the May 28th, the calendar was presented to the Finance Committee. Today, we're presenting the calendar to the board, and also today we opened the budget program for data entry. Continuing with the month of July, July 18th, we will produce the draft of the O&M budget. Later in the month, time is spent analyzing the O&M budget in more detail with the goal of balancing the O&M budget as well as the CIP budget. And then for the month of August, August the 6th, the budget in draft form is presented to the Finance Committee. August 11th to the full board. And then the week of August the 18th to the 22nd, budget briefings are held with individual board members. And then finally, in September, September 3rd, the budget draft is presented in a board workshop. September the 8th, the balanced budget is presented to the board for approval. Questions?
George, I'm sure everyone is looking forward to that calendar.
Yes, we are.
Workshops and to the many meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to a drought update. Mr. Jaime Flores.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Jaime Flores. I'm the Water Resources Administrator. I'll be giving you the drought update. Currently, U.S. combined ownership at Amistad and Falcon reservoirs as of May 24, 2025 was 22.0. As reported last month, Mexico agreed to an immediate transfer of water, 56,750 acre feet, and that resulted in the reservoir level going up to 22.5. But since then, Mexico would also agree to deliver more water from the Rio San Juan, a flow not managed by the treaty and which cannot be stored at the reservoirs or can be beneficial for the U.S. We actually used some of this water. We picked up 124 acre feet in March. They were supposed to start these deliveries May 14th, but just this past Thursday, we got a letter from the Water Master saying that the Rio Grande Water Master's office is pausing requests for delivery of San Juan water because the water has been above 1,000 milligrams per liter since May 13th. So because of that, we're still using water from the reservoirs, and that's why the 22.5 went down to 22 so quickly.
Sorry, can you repeat that? It's been above 1,000 milligrams per liter?
Yes, 1,000 milligrams per liter.
TDS then?
I think it's just salinity.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they didn't specify it was TDS or, I think it's just salinity. So this water was going to be mainly for the farmers. So they applied this to the crops, it'll probably burn them. So it's not useful for them. So again, now we're dipping back into that reservoir level. Again, you can see there on May 3rd, it was 22.5%. May 10th, it dropped down to 22.4%. And May 17th, 22.3%. So again, we're slowly dipping into that. So the National Weather Service, June to August 2025 outlook for the lower Grand Valley, deep South Texas region. A harder than normal average outlook is favored during the June through August 2025 timeframe. Meanwhile, precipitation remains a toss-up across the region. Occasional rains in April and May have helped keep drought conditions in check, especially for the lower valley. Showers and thunderstorms with origins from the tropics can produce heavy rainfall and localized flooding. So we saw that a little bit last week. Falconer National Reservoir remained near historic lows at the end of May. Confidence is near certain, approximately 100% on total storage remaining at or near record lows through August. Only a tropical cyclone's remnants can help the reservoirs at this point. It's a bit too soon to speculate on summer tropical activity this far out, but an event like 2024's Alberto would provide beneficial rain in June. There are some indicators of late summer activity favoring the eastern and central Gulf. Again, water conservation is key until further notice. Stage 2 to 3 drought restrictions continue through early spring 2025 and are likely to continue until further notice based on inflows from Amistad and Falcon. Again, we're at square 22, so we're right in the middle of stage 2 drought restrictions. They remain the same. Watering schedule, just 2 days out of the week based on your number of your address, the last 2 digits of your address. The same thing for car washing. And non-essential watering is prohibited, such as washing buildings or sidewalks, using water for dust control, or allowing water to run off in the streets. We haven't got there, but if we do reach drought stage 3, it would be the same, but it would go down to 1 watering day for the week for lawn irrigation and for car washing. And there would be additional restrictions. Adding water to pools except to maintain structural integrity is prohibited. Operation of any outdoor ornamental fountain, pond for aesthetic or scenic purposes is prohibited, except to support aquatic life or where fountain ponds, recirculate water. The use of water from scenic and recreational ponds and lakes, resakas, and pumping water into them is prohibited except when necessary to support aquatic life. Surcharges, we haven't got there, but they remain the same as in the current drought contingency plan. Our drought messaging for May 2025, the website, drought resources, we had 59 visitors. On social media, we had 27 posts related to drought messaging, 13,798 unique views, 11,219 in reach, and 136 interactions. Our BPUB lobby messaging, 6,755 views, and community presentations, 9 drought-related discussions. Any questions for me? No? All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that presentation. We'll now move on to presentation fiscal year 2023-2024 Brownsville Public Utility Board Annual Report by Ms. Alexa Pettis.
Good afternoon. Again, I'm here. So, this is an informational item. Just wanted to let you know that the annual report for the fiscal year 2023 to 2024, it's available already online. Of course, it includes everything from the financial performance to the strategic initiatives, community outreach as well. You can find it, of course, at that link. It's already available. We're going to have the physical copies as well, and it's going to be as well in English and Spanish. The report is approximately 25 pages, if I'm not mistaken. The English version, the Spanish is roughly 30, because the language is longer, right? But I don't know if you have any questions on that.
Any questions? Mr. Nahara? Mr. Martinez?
Okay, and we'll be sharing this as well in our platform so that community is aware that if they want to review anything, they can click on that, and I mean, it's open for everyone, everyone can download it, so it's about transparency with everyone. Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bettis. Ms. Gilbert, we'll move on to, I guess, some items for action or for recommendation. Number 4, presentation, discussion, possible recommendation for the selection of a firm to conduct external audit services for fiscal year ending 2025 through fiscal year ending 2027. Mr. Rangel.
Hello, good afternoon. Mr. Chair, members of the board, my name is Jordan Hell. I am the acting Director of Finance, and I'll be presenting on the External Audit Services RFP. And so BPUB just completed the 3rd and final year of a 3-year contract with our current external audit service provider. And so we had to go out for RFPs to hopefully get somebody selected by July, to have them start with their preliminary field work through the fall, and then hopefully get us a comprehensive financial report ready by March 31st, which is our deadline to submit those. I'll start off with the agenda, just to kind of give you all an overview of what I'll be covering today. I'll start off by talking about the RFP and the actual respondents. I'll provide some history on past external auditors. I'll also talk a little bit about GFOA's recommendations in regards to procuring an external auditor. I'll describe some of the advantages of choosing an external auditor that have utility experience and why that's important. I'll go into some general information for all of the respondents, provide some pros and cons for them, and then lastly, I'll review the team's recommendation based on the review and ranking for those proposals. So as I mentioned, we did have an RFP that was advertised on March 22nd and March 29th. That closed officially on April 23rd, 2025. We did contact 11 vendors. Our purchasing department did help us make those contacts. From those 11 contacts, we had 3 respondents, Baker Tilly US LLP, Burton McCumber and Longoria LLP, and Carr Riggs and Ingram LLC. And so as part of the RFP process, written within that, we did have a selection criteria. We wanted to know the firm's auditing approach and methodology. We asked them to provide a cost estimate based on the estimated hours they thought it would take to produce the report. We wanted them to give us their references and past performances, whether they had a really good understanding of our audit requirements of the utility organization, give us some of their experience and expertise, and then lastly, their available resources and the timeliness to meet our deadlines. And so if you see there the history of the BPUB external auditors, if you look back from 24 all the way back to 2016, the 3 respondents that we have are actually the 3 respondents that we've had these last 9 years. So we're very familiar with all 3 of the firms that submitted proposals. I did want to get into the recommendations from the external regulating agencies, GFOA. They're a professional organization that BPUB subscribes to, and so they do offer some best practices and recommendations when selecting an external auditor. And so I'll be reading through the slide. Governmental entities should enter into multi-year agreements of at least 5 years in duration when obtaining the services of independent auditors. Such multi-year agreements can take a variety of different forms. For example, a series of single-year contracts consistent with applicable legal requirements. Such agreements allow for greater continuity and help to minimize the potential for disruption in connection with the independent audit. Multi-year agreements can also help to reduce audit costs by allowing auditors to recover certain startup costs over several years rather than over a single year. And so that's why BPUB has had in the past 3-year contracts for each of our auditors. I know Dr. Holman at the Finance Committee meeting did make a recommendation that maybe we align ourselves with the GFOA's recommendation to have a 5-year contract as opposed to a 3-year. We did reach out to all 3 of the vendors to let them know that there was a possibility that the board would award a 5-year versus a 3-year. And so all of those vendors have been made aware that that might be happening. But when we get to the recommendation at the end, we can discuss that further. Then moving on to the advantages of a public accounting firm with utility accounting knowledge. As I mentioned in the previous slide, one of the selection criteria is that talks about their experience and their expertise. We wanted firms to showcase what their experience and expertise is through their proposals. And so I know this is kind of a busy slide, but I just wanted to highlight the 4 that we felt were the most important. And so starting off with the first one, an ability to review and audit BPUB's complex transactions at the audit team level with minimal consultation required. So as part of the proposals that we received, all of the vendors submitted their actual team that's going to be assigned to BPUB, and they did have all of their resumes in place, so we were able to go through those and figure out if they did have utility experience, specifically with the electric, water, and wastewater utilities. A lot of utilities have either or, but we have all 3, so we needed someone that's going to have a strong experience in all 3 utilities. Next, no need for management team to train firm staff on the utility industry or our operations. Again, we're looking for a firm that we wanted to learn from. We wanted an experienced firm that we could ask questions and get feedback from and learn from them and their current customers that are also utilities and kind of get best practices from them. Then assist management with implementation of GASB standards and provide example note disclosures used by other utilities. And so GASB statements provide accounting and financial reporting standards, and every year we have amendments to GASB pronouncements, or we have new GASB standards that are sent out, and we need to make sure that we know if they apply to BPUB and whether they apply to each of the utilities that we have. And so we really wanted to get somebody who was going to be an experienced firm that was going to be able to help us in understanding how we need to implement these GASB and if that needs to happen. And then lastly, provide examples and white papers of how your peers account for similar complex transactions. So again, a big thing is resources. We really wanted someone who was going to have access to other utilities out there to be able to give us examples of how they are handling certain financial transactions and how they're reporting them. Then on the general information on the responding firms, again, I don't want to go too into detail in this, but I do want to concentrate on the 4th row here, the number of utility industry customers. As you can see on here, Baker Tilly far and away has the most experience in terms of 1,600 utility customers that currently engage with. Burton, McCumber, and Longoria has 1. We are that one entity that they reported, and then Carr, Riggs, and Ingram had 7. Utilities that they work with. And all of those 7 utilities that they have are water organizations. So not really too familiar with electric, at least not that they said in their proposals. Then the last couple of rows here at the bottom, the timeline, as you can see on here, July to January, July through February, all 3 of them can meet the timeline that we set forth. Estimated number of hours, again, depending on the firm, these are the number of estimated hours that they think they will take in order to get that comprehensive financial report ready by March 31st. And then you'll see here, one of the biggest factors is cost. Baker Tilly is the highest price point at $85,000. Then we have Burton McCumber at $75,000 and Carr, Riggs, and Ingram last at $67,500. Moving on to the pros and cons of the responding firms, I'll start off with Baker Tilly. Again, the biggest pro for them is that they have access to over 1,600 utility clients that we can kind of tap into and see what it is that they're doing and kind of share notes and white papers on how they implement certain GASBs, how they do certain financial reporting, and then maybe hopefully implement those into our comprehensive report as well. They're familiar with BPUB. They're able to meet our deadline. Obviously, the cons on their end is that they are the highest price point. Moving on to Burton, McCumber, and Longoria, they are familiar with BPUB. They are actually the last auditor that we had, so they've been with us for the last 3 years. So they're extremely familiar with BPUB. They do have a mid-price point, so that's pretty attractive as well, and then they're also a local firm. The cons on them is that they do have limited resources, and again, BPUB is the firm's only experience with utility clients. And then lastly, we have Carr, Riggs, and Ingram, also another local firm. They are out of Harlingen. They are familiar with BPUB as well. They've been our past auditor. And then their biggest pro is that they are the lowest net price. Cons, they didn't provide any utility references. And so in terms of the recommendation, a recommendation was made to the Finance Committee based on the highest ranked proposal. However, the Finance Committee will make a recommendation to the full board on the selection of the firm to conduct external audit services for fiscal years ending 2025 through fiscal year 2027. And so at this time, if you all have any questions, I can try to answer those, and then maybe move to some board discussion on that.
Yeah, so, thank you for the
But you gotta talk in
presentation,
the
very, very complete, lot of information. I think all three firms are very capable. Burton McCumber Longoria, they've been our auditor, I think, for the last 3 years,
Correct.
right? So I've been very happy with their ability to meet the deadlines and the quality of the audit. So although they only have one customer, which happens to be PUB, I think they do a very good job. And then CRI as well, and they can do a very good job. Staff recommended Baker Tilly out of Austin. In the Finance Committee, we discussed that. We think they're very capable, but would rather go with somebody local as long as the price is in line, the cost is in line, and as far as the quality of the report is in line as well. And we just thought that in terms of cost, these two firms are at least less expensive by a little bit. Now, it's not a material amount, but we also thought that they're more than capable or more than qualified and know the utility and could do an outstanding job for us. So we would recommend that we go with a local firm, one of the two local firms versus the firm in Austin. Nothing against the firm in Austin, they're very capable, but we'd rather keep it local, especially if the cost is a little less. Do you have any comments?
There were a couple other things. The Baker Tilly one, not only is more expensive, actually their per hour billing is almost double what the local firms would be. So that's kind of, if they misestimated their hours, we'll have a bigger bill. So I completely agree. I think the lowest cost per hour actually turned out to be BML. After reading, the audit, and granted it didn't come from the local group, I have a hard time picking CRI. I would strongly oppose them. They did a poor job. Granted it was a different office. The local people are different folks.
Sure.
But, it was signed by CRI, and I don't think we should go with them. I am in favor of BML. We have had them for 3 years, and maybe extending their contract another 3 years would get us kind of closer to the
5.
GFOA recommendation
Sure.
of the 5 years. And I think that would be beneficial because, as everybody has said, getting a new audit firm up, and ready for your utility takes a lot of effort.
Correct.
So that's my thought.
Those who know the way I have advocated for local vendors, local companies, I always advocate for local and our regional and our state. I think the Burton folks, BML, have done a great job. Obviously, they're not as large as the Austin firm, but I would, my position would be to stay with a local firm that's very capable. Do we want some more comments, Mr. Martinez or the mayor?
Yeah, I mean, just base it on the recommendation, from the staff. Personally, I would probably pick Baker Tilly, but that's why we're all up here as different board members, right? So we'll see how the vote ends. I'm not against BML. I do have my reservations for Carr Riggs as well, but either way, I think we're going to be supported well.
Okay, we have, I'll entertain a
Agreed.
motion. Mr. Nahid, any comments?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion to move forward on this item with a recommendation for a firm. I'll make a motion that we move forward with the BML to provide us with these external auditing services.
And I second that motion.
We have a second?
Oh, we have one.
Questions?
Question.
Yeah, for what term, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I think that it's recommended that we get closer to the 5, like you were talking about.
Okay.
So let's do that.
So the recommendation will be for the 5?
Yes.
Okay.
And Mr. Nahid, you second that?
I second that.
That was seconded by Mr. Nahara. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those against?
Nay?
There's one motion against. We'll record that, and this motion passes, and we'll move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go, move on to the next one. Consideration of possible action to approve the professional engineering services contract with Garver LLC for the Robbinsdale wastewater treatment plant and direct potable reuse project phase 2. Ms. Liad.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Marie Leal, and I am the Director of Water, Wastewater Engineering and Capital Planning. The Robbinsdale wastewater treatment plant currently produces an average of 8 million gallons per day of unused effluent outflows. Due to the current drought conditions that we've had here in the valley, it has become imperative for us to pursue all possible additional water sources, including water reuse. There's two types of potable water reuse: indirect potable reuse and direct potable reuse. The indirect potable reuse uses an environmental buffer, such as the resaca or a lake, before the water is being treated at a drinking water treatment plant. Direct potable reuse involves the treatment and distribution of water without an environmental buffer. BPUB has selected to implement an indirect potable reuse for the North Wastewater Treatment Plant. On July 8th of 2024, the BPUB board approved Garver LLC to provide professional engineering services for a phase 1 of this project, which included a feasibility study and also a Bureau of Reclamation grant application, which both have been completed, and we're awaiting possible grant funding. Phase 2 of this project will now include a TCEQ-required pilot protocol development, engineering design, pilot construction management phase, as well as pilot testing support services, and a discharge piping evaluation and conceptual design. Garver submitted a fee proposal for the project not to exceed $585,064. Do we have any questions on?
Any questions to Ms. Liad? She just read her.
Did we get the report for the, or did the board get the report for the,
Feasibility?
for phase 1?
No, sir,
No?
not the board, but it is available. We did have a presentation before staff and the executive team from the Garver design team, and I think this was back some months ago, and but I can provide that to the board, along with their presentation.
Think it might be essential before?
No, absolutely not. I think we can move with it. I think it would be useful to know about that.
I can go ahead and share that report with all of you, and just for your awareness, the grant that was mentioned on here were the federal funding source and not a state funding source. Last week, it was included in the state budget, and 12.7 million was awarded through the Texas Water Development Board for Administration, so don't know all the details at this time, and we're working on press releases at this time. But some of you may have seen already press releases circulating in the communities by the various different elected officials on that. So a portion of the costs are already going to be state funds, and we are also doing federal funding.
Yes, this particular Bureau of Reclamation grant was for a not to exceed a $10 million grant, and of which 95, like Ms. Gilbert said, 95% will be federal and 5% will be the BPUB share.
Okay, so we have.
Yeah, just maybe a comment, and more for the community. Maybe you can confirm, but the reuse should enable a certain amount of additional waters, right? 8 million round numbers, if I'm not mistaken. So I know there's more details on that, through the project and assessment and feasibility study. But I think that is a big win for us that we're able to do that, and definitely a big win for the community. So if you can maybe state that in your words,
Correct.
Without leaving all the engineering lingo.
To give you an idea, right now, yes, the effluent that goes out into the Gulf, the Bay, and then the Gulf of Mexico is 8 million gallons per day. and it's treated before it goes out into, actually ends up in the bay, and it's probably cleaner than the incoming quality of water that we have with the high TDSs, the dissolved solids that they just mentioned on the river. That's number one. Number two, as Brownsville grows and more lift stations are developed, more wastewater, the capacity, this amounts of 8 million will definitely go up. They'll only rise up. And to give the board and the audience an idea, SRWA, for example, produces, it varies, high 6 million or a little bit over 7 million gallons per day. That's 30% roughly of the amount of water that Brownsville needs. Well, 8 million would be like having another SRWA facility that would not come from the Rio Grande River. It would, it would be water, indirect potable reuse water. So it has the capacity of becoming, of providing, at minimum, another 30% of water to the residents of Brownsville.
So I know this has been talked about since I was in high school, which, okay, so last year. And I think it's extremely exciting, and I think this is awesome. So, yeah, and the idea that we're basically adding another water plant without paying for another water plant is very important, or the high price of another water plant. We're paying for it, but.
Correct.
Right.
One more important point is that whatever we invest as far as consultant fees into the project right now, when we get the grant, or if we get the grant from the Bureau of Reclamation, then you can backtrack, and whatever expenditures you have can be reimbursed under the grant.
Martinez, you have additional comment?
No, just thank you for that.
I got to read the recommendation.
Okay.
BPB staff recommends approval of a professional engineering services contract with Garver LLC for the Robindale Wastewater Treatment Plant Indirect Potable Reuse Project Phase 2 for a total amount not to exceed $585,064.
Okay, we have a motion for Mrs., we have her recommended item. We have a motion.
I'll move to approve the recommendation.
Dr. Holman.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Martinez. I made you a doctor. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against. This motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're moving right along. Consideration and possible action to address tariff impacts, including for Landis and GYR AMI products. Mr. Hernandez.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, let's see. As you all may be aware, there have been some tariffs levied by the U.S. government on other countries. One of the outcomes is that some of our electric meters for the AMI project, the vast majority that are made in Mexico are our residential meters. They qualify for exemption, so we got lucky with that. The commercial meters have the main board that's made in Vietnam and then assembled in Mexico. They do not qualify for the exemption. So those meters will be subject to tariff. We had our internal attorney and Spencer Fain also take a look at this, at the items to kind of walk through it and make sure that everything was being done properly. This is our due diligence document up in front of you, and I believe Mr. Cody Falk from Spencer Fain is available to speak to this slide.
Can you all hear me?
Are you there?
Yeah, we
can. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, board members. It's great to see you as always. This is something we've discussed in prior meetings with y'all, and we have developed a relatively straightforward due diligence process for the tariffs on a moving forward basis. Obviously, these things are in flux at all times, and it doesn't seem like a day goes by where things don't materially change. But this due diligence process as outlined is what we're following for all of our contracts. and obviously not all the contracts are the same. But most importantly for this, when we're getting a request from Landis and Gear, we respond with several due diligence type questions, making sure that we're reviewing the entry summary documents that they're providing, showing that where it's being imported from, the codes, et cetera, and then reviewing the current tariff policy, and confirming, one, on our end, and then two, with Landis and Gear, that there is no USMCA preferential treatment. And then one of the other things is talking with Landis and Gear about what, if any, current stock of these meters they have that wouldn't be subject to the tariff that are already in the United States, and confirming that there's no existing supply of those that wouldn't be subject to the tariff. Based on the terms of the agreement and the customary terms, BPUB would be responsible for the tariff amount. But as Eddie will talk a little more in detail, the full tariff amount is not being requested by Landis and Gear. So happy to answer any questions on the due diligence side.
Cody, I think from what I'm hearing, the situation's still somewhat fluid. You guys are
Sure.
monitoring it. We did get a break from some of the products coming from Mexico, so we believe and we trust that y'all will continue to carefully monitor this and to protect the utility. And of course, the contracts that are in place. Mr. Vajad?
Yes, and on our contracting on a moving forward basis will definitely be influenced as we enter into future purchase agreements with different vendors.
Okay. This is an action item. What's the recommendation?
I have one comment.
You have a comment? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Mayor.
so on Friday, President Trump increased the steel and aluminum tariffs from 25 to 50%. So I would see how that's going to impact the ones coming from Vietnam, or from Mexico with Vietnam components.
We'll check on that, but at this point in time, we haven't heard anything.
Okay.
And,
Yeah, I think, Mr. Mayor, that relates to, and I can confirm, but the actual import of the steel product into the United States, as opposed to, but I'm not sure about the component parts.
Yeah, it's a derivative tariff, so you have to look at the component level.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we're looking at. I know that we have some issues involving some of our other current purchases that do have steel components that we're trying to address.
Thank you.
Mayor, thank you for that, for those comments and that input. Do we have a recommendation, Mr. Hernandez?
The recommendation from staff is motion to authorize BPUB staff to amend the Landis and Gear contract for electrical meters as recommended by staff, authorizing the general manager and CEO or her designee to engage legal counsel, negotiate and amend purchase orders in order to account for the import tariffs up to the maximum limits established by the board's purchasing policy authorization, reporting such costs and approvals to the board on at least a quarterly basis.
All right, that's a recommendation. We have a motion.
I thought I saw an amount, 145,000.
The estimated amount at this time is $145,928.05.
Okay. I mean, based on that amount, it comes out of the contingency, right? That's where we have the contingency. So based on that, I would move to approve.
I'll second that.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Vadad and second by Dr. Holman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? This motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item number 7, consideration and possible action to implement Brownsville PUB personnel policies and procedures. Policy number 44, cost of living adjustment. Mr. Sergio Delgadillo.
Hi, good evening, Chairman, board members. My name is Sergio Ledillo. I'm the Compensation and Benefits Manager. I report to the HR Division. currently under the oversight and direction of Ms. Constanza Minor, CAO. So on April this year, we came to the committee, to the Compensation Committee, and we requested to consider a budget for the COLA for fiscal year 2026 budget. Along with that, we also asked if this could be considered an ongoing process, and we were pleasantly requested to provide a policy that kind of represent this request. On May this year as well, we came to the Regulatory and Policy Committee. We presented a draft of a policy, and we were asked to bring it to the board for consideration. So I would like to start the presentation with a news release. This is an article that was published on March 2025, and it's from the Congressional Budget Office. This is a federal agency that provides independent analysis in budgetary and economics issues to support U.S. congressional budget. So the relevance of this is because literally it's very tough for an agency to go out and forecast inflation. So they're very reserved on that. You'll see a couple of financial outlets, but nothing that is coming from a federal agency that is very specific and long-term. So this article talks about an estimated 2.3% inflation for the next 30 years to steady itself beginning on 2026 with a little bit of changes throughout closing 2025. The second news article that I have for you, it's from the Society of Human Resources Management. This is founded in 1948. It is the world's largest society for human resources. And what they're saying basically is they did a pulse. This has to do with the sentiment. And it's relevant because when they surveyed the employees, 1,000 or so employees, around 2/5, 4% say that they expect that inflation is going to affect them, that is going to create an extreme impact. 36% of that group saying that they have confidence that their employers are going to help out and make sure they do fair adjustments. And theirs is the opposite. There's around 34% that they don't trust. So of course, this gives a little bit of a picture of how employers are thinking and then what we can do to make sure we change a little bit that mindset. So of course, compensation is important, and along with our strategy and ongoing efforts to make sure that we attract, retain, and engage our employees, we believe that this policy definitely supports that. It helps recruiting top talent. We see it. We get those questions asked all the time. Is there an ongoing, is there a schedule increase of pay whenever we are making an offer? It helps with employee engagement for sure, employee retention, encourage good performance, and of course, we stay competitive, and most important, we maintain the earning powers of our employees. So if you can see all those boxes up there, if you can imagine a line below that as a mirror, you would see turnover. You know, if we don't take this action, then we see turnover as well. Not necessarily a direct response, but of course, all the actions that favor engagement, retention, attraction, when not done, they do the opposite effect. And of course, there's a cost to that. Roughly, also, SHRM estimates around 40 to 60% of every vacancy would be the cost of turnover, in between direct and indirect costs. That is cost for recruitment, cost for advertisement, that's also cost for engagement of our employees, overtime of other employees, et cetera. So of course, we're going to focus just on the last two boxes right now, which is stay competitive and maintain the earning power of our employees. And we'll talk about the cost of living adjustment. So of course, this is typically non-performance-based increases that are just dependent on the consumer price index. And the idea is that this keep employees earning power. Of course, by the passing of time based on demand pool or cost push or even built-in costs, we see prices rise. That affects the employees' economy. So if we don't take this type of action, what we start seeing is that employees that stay for the long term, their pay is not increased, now they're starting being penalized. They don't see a change, and now there's a cost to them staying with us in terms of their earning power. What we're bringing is proposing a policy. This policy would provide an annual cost of living adjustment based on CPI, published by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. We would have boundaries. One of those boundaries is that we will make sure that we measure it every year on June to June, just before our annual budget process. Of course, we need to recognize that we have a fiduciary responsibility, and we need to make sure that we have the funding and the ability to do that. So another boundary is to make sure that we can afford it. So to that purpose, we would put it in the budget, and it will follow the regular budget approval process. And last, we're saying that whenever there's deflation or the COLA, there's no change, we will not affect the employee's pay. With this, I would entertain any questions that you may have.
Any comments from any of the board members?
So what's important about this is this will be a recommendation every year. The board, we're not tying the hands of any future board. They can always vote to change the budget however they want. And if they decide we can't afford a COLA, they can do that for the year, right?
No, this would have to do with the board approval through the budget process.
Right.
Yes. The only relevance is that we now have it in a policy, and we can say that out loud, and when employees and candidates ask, we can say, yes, we do have a process, and we do at least try to keep up with inflation. That's part of our policies. Let's say our governing soul leaves us, and we'd like to see policies ourselves. So that's kind of what I would say and what it would do.
I think it's very important that we implement this. You know, it's something that's going to say a lot about us, about PUB and what we care about our employees, no?
I agree.
So the policy, I suspect, Mike, is only as strong as our budget.
Yes,
and
that's
when the
correct.
budget's in jeopardy.
So we did update our 5-year financial forecast to account for these policies, the requirements under this policy. And so we provided that to our consultant that's currently working on our electric cost of service study. So we will be incorporating those potential increases in that study.
Yeah, and I agree with Mr. Nahara. It's important to be competitive, and it's important to pay employees their value. Any further comments or motions on this item?
So we're going to see this the first time in this upcoming budget then?
Well, we've seen a budget for inflationary COLA adjustments through our different budgets. We just never had a policy to support it.
No, what I'm saying is
But
that
yeah, you're correct.
incorporate a cost of living adjustment in the
We'll
next budget?
incorporate this beginning in fiscal year '26.
Yeah, okay.
But
Okay, we have the item. We have a recommendation for this policy. You have the recommendation?
Yes, I'll proceed to read the recommendation. BPUB staff recommend of approval of the proposed policy number 44, cost of living adjustment, with effective date of June 3rd, 2025.
I move to approve.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mr. Nahas, second by Dr. Holman. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those against, this motion passes. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Zedillo. Okay, number 8, we already took care of. We'll move on to number 9, presentation, discussion, possible recommendation of status of request for proposals for a vehicle lease program. Mr. Osequayed and Mr. Perez is in.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Jose Cuellar, and I am the Fleet Services Manager for Brownsville PUB. This evening, I will be presenting the BPUB lease program and will provide information regarding leasing benefits and a comparison of vehicle leasing versus purchasing cost benefit analysis. The objective of the Fleet Management Department is to provide the performance of its fleet, reduce cost and downtime while improving fleet reliability and functionality through enhancing fleet practices. A summary of the department objectives are to enhance fleet management and operation efficiency, reduce costs associated with vehicle maintenance and acquisition, and ensure access to reliable, safe, and efficient vehicles. According to the General Services Administration, the recommended vehicle replacement schedule should be at 5 years of service or 60,000 miles for passenger vehicles. Light-duty trucks, either gas or diesel, should be replaced between 7 and 8 years or between 65,000 or 150,000 miles. And for heavy-duty trucks, they should be replaced between 10 and 12 years or between 100,000 and 250,000 miles. Some of the benefits of a vehicle lease program include safety, in which the newest vehicles offer the latest safety technology available, such as automatic braking, automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning, and blind spot monitoring. Lower upfront costs allow for a lower initial payment compared to purchasing the vehicles, which can free up capital for other expenses. Proper vehicle maintenance can preserve the resale value, thus allowing BPUB for an increased return on investment. Newer vehicles provide efficiency by minimizing downtime, which allows for continued operations. With an inclusive full maintenance program, routine maintenance and unexpected repairs will be covered, allowing for a significant maintenance cost savings. At the end of lease, BPUB will have the option to purchase the vehicles at a predetermined price, return the vehicles to the vendor for resale, and after vehicles are sold, the money recovered could be used towards a new vehicle lease or simply request a refund check for BPUB. The benefits of an inclusive full maintenance program include a fixed monthly cost for the term of the vehicle lease, coverage, availability for up to 100,000 miles. A full maintenance program covers all manufactured recommended preventive maintenance services such as oil changes, tune-ups, fluids, belts, hoses, etc. And the full maintenance program also covers all unexpected repairs when not related to damage or neglect to major components such as engine repairs, transmission repairs, and battery replacements, and etc. Included with this program is also a 24/7 roadside assistance and towing service, which includes local service and repair locations throughout the city of Brownsville, and all preventative maintenance services are automated notifications for BPUB program administrators, or in this case, the Fleet Management Department. Although there are many benefits to a lease program, I also wanted to provide a list of the pros versus cons of a vehicle lease. The pros of a vehicle lease are that new vehicle upgrades are every 3 to 5 years, depending on the lease option chosen. When vehicles are received from the leasing company, they are turnkey ready, which means they arrive ready to be put into service without needing to extend out time for the upfitting. Monthly lease payments offer higher capital availability. The maintenance and repair program coverage allows for additional savings, specifically on major component repairs. And lastly, the buyout option at the end of the lease allows for BPUB to make the decision on whether to keep and purchase the vehicles or resell and recover expenses. On the cons of a vehicle lease are that there is no vehicle ownership for BPUB, and that there are also customization and upfitting restrictions that must be followed or complied with. And there are potential higher long-term costs associated with the lease if the vehicles are purchased due to vehicle aging, because of the maintenance and repair costs will increase as time progresses, and additional costs for damages sustained to vehicles will also increase. And there are a total of 27 vehicles approved for replacement in FY 2024 and FY 2025. There are 18 vehicles from FY 24 and 9 vehicles from FY 25. And there are shown here on this slide, which is 7 pickups, 60 utility trucks, 1 full-size SUV, 1 mid-size SUV, and 2 cargo vans. CIP funding allocation for the replacement of all 27 vehicles is available with $1,158,750 for FY 2024 and $912,827 from FY 2025 for a total of $2,071,577 allocated and available funds for these vehicles. The procurement summary is as follows. The Brownsville PUB vehicle lease program was initially advertised on August 31st, 2024, and then re-advertised in September 7th, 2024, with 9 vendors contacted regarding the advertisement, and proposals were opened on September 19th, 2024, with 0 vendors responded. With management's approval, the vehicle lease program was re-advertised once again in January 11th, 2025, and January 18th, 2025, with 8 vendors being contacted for the advertisement. Proposals were opened on January 30th, 2025, with only 1 vendor responding, which was Enterprise Fleet Management. This slide represents the deadlines to order 2025 year model vehicles direct from factory. in which by ordering direct from factory allows for higher rebates and incentives from the manufacturer, which are then passed on to BPUB from the leasing company.
So good evening again, Mr. Chair, and members of the board. So back in March, we presented and discussed BPUB's needs of replacing this 27 vehicles through a lease option to the Finance Committee, right? At the time, we were asked to conduct and provide a cost-benefit analysis between a purchase and a lease vehicle option. It took a while to gather all the necessary information, but the analysis was completed, and it was presented to the Finance Committee this last Wednesday. Due to the lapse of time, we did obtain a letter from the vendor where they agreed to continue to honor their bid price. So we evaluated a 3-year and 5-year lease term option. The vendor provided all the lease quotes for each vehicle and lease term. The price of the vehicles under the lease option are lower than BPUB's purchase price, and that's because the leasing company purchases the vehicles in large volume and straight from the manufacturer, so they're avoiding that middle person, the car dealership's markup, right? And so the leasing company does recover the vehicle's price through a monthly depreciation reserve. In this case, under the 3 years, like 1.5% per month, 18% per year. And then they recover the difference in the book by the sale of the vehicle at its book value at the end of the term. And we'll discuss the book value in more detail later in the presentation. So here's the cost-benefit analysis for the 3-year and the 5-year lease for all the 27 vehicles. But today, I'll be going over our recommended option. So we do propose a hybrid version where 11 vehicles without the aftermarket equipment will be leased over 3 years, and the remaining 16 vehicles that include the aftermarket equipment be leased over 5 years, and I'll explain why in a minute. So under the lease option, there are some upfront costs for administration and delivery, which total under the 3-year option $8,349. The annual lease payments include monthly depreciation reserve, as I mentioned earlier, and a monthly lease charge. And so those total $122,264 for those 11 vehicles. Now, the lease program does include the full maintenance program with an estimate of 10,000 annual miles or 30,000 miles for the lease, right? There is a true-up at the end of the, once we reach that 30,000 lease term, whereas let's assume that we have a vehicle that reaches 30,000 miles at year 2.5, right? So at that time, they will do a true-up. The leasing company has already fulfilled their commitment under the lease maintenance program, and so, but they haven't collected the full premium. And so at that point, they'll bill us for the remaining 6 months, and then any maintenance and repairs after that are going to be at BPUB's expense. So the annual cost for the maintenance program for these 11 vehicles is $6,268. Under the lease agreement, these vehicles are required to have full coverage insurance. So we did contact Texas Municipal League, which provided us with an annual quoted cost of $15,307 for those 11 vehicles. There is a service charge of $495 per vehicle that's due at lease termination. And so the total for those service charge is $5,445. So the total one-time and annual cost are $157,633 for a grand total under the 3-year cost of $445,311. So now each vehicle does end up with an estimated book value at the end of the lease, and so this is what is not recovered through that monthly depreciation reserve. So in this case, the estimated book value is $217,758. BPUB does have the option to purchase these vehicles for this amount. Otherwise, the leasing company expects to sell the units for this amount. These sales are really contingent on vehicle condition, mileage, and the used car market. Under this analysis, we assume that the vehicles would sell at book value, therefore not calculating a benefit or additional cost to BPUB. So now if the vehicles were to sell for more, then BPUB would either receive a refund or a credit towards another lease. But if the vehicles were to sell for less, then BPUB would receive a bill for the difference. Under the purchase option, BPUB would have to fund the full purchase price of $495,941. BPUB is self-insured, so will only pay for liability insurance coverage with an estimated annual cost of $4,940. BPUB would also cover all the maintenance costs. For this analysis, we used the same maintenance cost that was quoted under the lease option. When calculating their manufacturing, or the maintenance cost, I'm sorry, the leasing company looks at the manufacturer's required services and the probability of out-of-warranty repairs events based on the average timing of millions of repairs that they've already completed. So we figured that is a good starting point for us. Now, the total one-time annual cost under the purchase option was $507,149 for a grand total of $529,566 over the 3-year term. So in order to keep the analysis on an apples-to-apples comparison, we assumed that the vehicles are sold at book value, thus providing BPUB with a benefit which directly offsets its purchase cost. Now, I do just want to mention, if you all recall, some months back, this board did authorize the transfer of some surplus vehicles to the city of Brownsville at no cost to the city. So if that sets precedents, then there won't be any benefit of sale for BPUB funds or BPUB units, right? But besides, these vehicles would still be relatively new, so we wouldn't be selling the vehicles, but rather keeping them well beyond their useful life, which in turn translates to higher maintenance costs down the road. And we'll focus on those maintenance costs in a subsequent slide. So the net 3-year cost under the lease option of $445,311 is $122,616 above the purchase option cost of $322,696. Under the 5-year lease option analysis, the cost gap is $282,242 for another 16 vehicles, right? So the 16 vehicles will be equipped with aftermarket equipment such as utility service bodies and hydraulic lift gates. And so this aftermarket equipment is the reason we would recommend a 5-year lease for these vehicles, simply because it wouldn't be cost efficient to end the lease at 3 years because the extra money invested in the uplifting. And so the decision between leasing and purchasing vehicles should take both a quantitative and qualitative factors into account. So the lease option, we see that it is more expensive, but offers other qualitative benefits, such as, and some of these options were already covered in the previous slide. So a shortened vehicle availability, right? So under the lease option, we're looking at those vehicles being available within 60 to 90 days. Under the purchase option, just recently in January, we did go out for bids for just 2 vehicles for the safety department, and the lead times there were from 90 to 120 days. In 2024, the majority of these units, 18 of the 27 units we did have a bid. We bid them out. We only got 1 bidder at the time. And because of the volume, where we're asking for a lot more vehicles, that lead time was between 150 and 180 days. So now it also offers the latest safety technology, lower upfront cost. Obviously, we don't have to pay for the full purchase price, and so we can redirect some of the cash funding to other projects. The benefits of an all-inclusive full maintenance program, it does minimize vehicle downtime and allows for continued operations. This maintenance and repairs will be sent to third-party shops, and so that frees up our mechanics to just focus on the units that we actually own. And then shortened vehicle schedule. So a 3-year lease would offer maintenance cost savings, considering that most repairs would be covered under warranty. BPUB, although we do keep those vehicles over 12 years until such time they're really inoperable, and so that translates to higher maintenance costs in latter years, which is the cost that we're trying to avoid. So we also prepared a maintenance and repair cost analysis for those light-duty pickup sedans and SUVs. These are the same units that we want to lease. And so we provided the maintenance and repair costs from fiscal year 2021 through year to date. We do see that in fiscal year 24, those costs went up by about 16.7%. The fiscal year 25 year-to-date number is for 7 months, so as we extrapolate over an annual, we anticipate that number to be around $437,000, and so that's an increase of about 25% over the previous fiscal year, 24. Right. We also provided in here some specific unit analysis. We have a 2008, 2009, 2010, and 2018 pickup trucks, and we can see that the average annual cost over this 4.5 years is between $2,310 to $3,473 per unit, per year. And going back to the 3-year analysis, the average annual maintenance cost per vehicle on a 3-year lease is $598. And so here, we do see an increase from the lease option between 386% to 581% in maintenance cost alone. And so this concludes my presentation. Be glad to answer any questions.
So the more I see this, the more I hate it. First of all, since we have a high school student here, I do want to emphasize that for private ownership, leasing a vehicle is a much worse option than owning it. But okay, now for the utility. You know, I look at it and it looks like we're going to spend about $11.5 thousand per vehicle extra for the leasing option. You know, the 3 and 5 years seems to be about the same. You know, and so that comes down to, if we were to put that in maintenance, over $3,000 per year extra to devote towards maintenance. Yeah, the 2008 vehicle is 17 years old, which is 10 years longer than the recommended keep, time. So, yeah, it seems like it might be better just to follow our depreciation schedule. And when something's depreciated over 7 years, like trucks, we get rid of them. The fact that we also assume all the risk on the resale of the vehicle, so lease ends, they resell the vehicle, they don't make the sell they want it to, we pay for it.
Correct.
If this was tied to some other strategy, like, hey, we're really trying to reduce the number of people we have, maintaining vehicles or something, I could understand it, but just on its surface, it seems like a horrible idea to me.
Well, thank you, Dr. Holman, for being so direct on this item. Mr. Vizcarra?
Yeah. Every time I've seen it, this is the third time.
Mike, I see there's a savings of $400,000 if we go buy versus lease, 3 years versus 5 years, and yeah, after 5 years, you'll have an increased maintenance cost, but at the same time, it's like you're not making a payment either, right? People love to own cars, and I hear, well, why don't you get a new car? It's because I don't want a car payment, right? And vehicles now are made, a lot better than they used to be. With the right, I think the key is continual maintenance, right? If you procrastinate and put off, things aren't reported, right? Then, okay, you're going to have a balloon maintenance expense in the latter years. But if you take care of it, I mean, these vehicles should last a lot longer. And once we pay for them, you don't have to make a lease payment. All you have to do is worry about the maintenance. So I see this too. And the thing about it is that you guys are really smart guys. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what am I missing? Because I see $400,000 worth of savings. Vehicles last longer. Yeah, you won't have the maintenance, but you own it. And then you can resell it, and you're not really subject to any penalties on a downward cycle of, a depreciated vehicle and by utility. That's what I don't understand. I don't know how the rest of the board does.
Mike, you guys put a lot of work into this, and I don't see a lot of support for it, but we'll take a vote on this.
Wait.
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm not a fan of this leasing business myself. I've listened to Dr. Holman, the comments that Mr. Vizcarra made. I'm not sure if the city of Brownsville leases vehicles for the police department.
Yeah, we went through this exercise, and then COVID happened, and I think the enterprise canceled the contract. So I don't think we've been able to revisit that.
Right.
But we did that exercise quite a number of years ago.
I spent 5 years as a transportation director for the school district. We studied these options quite a bit, and they were all declined for direct purchases. So,
So what is, when it comes down to it, Mike, I mean, what is what's the top reason for going lease versus purchase?
Well, a lot of it, like I mentioned earlier, it's really to avoid those high maintenance costs in the latter years, and just do free up some time for our mechanics to focus on the units that we actually own. We have a large fleet, and for us to cycle based on those depreciated values of either a 7-year life, it would be very costly, and this are costs that we would have to bore through cash available on hand, not necessarily issue any commercial paper. We want to focus the commercial paper on long-term assets, that are 20, 30 years, not a 7-year.
But you can even though you're, I don't mean to be argumentative, but 3 years you're selling vehicles, 5 years you're selling vehicles, and you're getting the cash back, and then you can go back and you can assess the market, whether leasing or purchasing is still a good idea. You're not going to be stuck with those vehicles forever. That's the thing. It gives you the option to let's keep these and let's get rid of some of them. You still have the option to get rid of them. So you're not making really, in my opinion, a long-term commitment in terms of a hold perspective. And you buy them, you can sell them anytime. You could buy them and sell them in 2 years if you wanted to.
And you assume the same risk as the lease. I mean, I think maybe there'd be a different conversation if the leasing company assumed all the risk on the resale value, kind of like if you were to do it, which, again, you shouldn't do. But, for your personal vehicle, but we don't see that, so.
Yeah. So, I mean, if the board allows, we do have Mr. Ricardo Mancias from Enterprise here that could address the board just real quick.
Chair, board members, thank you. Good evening. So it's great questions that you guys have. So the first one, there are, as far as whenever we're paying for vehicles or the lease of the vehicle, there's different ways to go about it. So the proposal is a leasing model to where you own the equity at term. There is a way that we can take all the risk, but it's not the most cost beneficial for the board, because if it kind of mirrors just a rental. The proposal is you own all the rights to the vehicle. So we're being conservative. When we looked at the analysis, the average of the vehicles, the average miles you're putting on these vehicles are 6,400 miles. So you're not putting much miles in the vehicles, right? We all know that as soon as you drive the vehicle off the lot, it decreases in value, correct? So as a government entity, you have access to preferential pricing. Our methodology is going directly through a manufacturer. What that does is we get access to lower cost initially. Plus, as a government entity, you get to apply those government incentives. So the moment we we give you a vehicle, you're not upside down. The equity in the vehicle day one is typically on a government entity. Typically, you're either zero or you're in an equitable position. What our recommendation is right now, your average. You're keeping the vehicles on average 13 years. A 13-year-old vehicle, you lost all the equity, all the value in that vehicle. Plus, you're paying a lot more in maintenance. The proposal is if we get rid of the vehicle at the right time, you're buying low. We're selling through our, we buy and sell over 1 million vehicles a year, Enterprise does. You're going to get to piggyback off of that. So we're going to sell the vehicles in your behalf. That's why we don't take the risk, because we're just selling them in your behalf. We buy and sell, we play with our own money, because our 2.3 million rental fleet, that's what you're piggybacking off of. So City of Brownsville is a great example. I started the partnership there for about 5 years ago, and we've been in that cycle over the last 5 years where, again, we go directly through a manufacturer, you apply your government incentives, we buy low, we sell high through our channels. On average, black book value is what we are comparing ourselves to. In the last year, or in the last 12 months, we've been averaging 12.6% higher than black book value. So that's another advantage that you guys are going to get to piggyback off of.
Well, it's a lot of information. We appreciate your input as well, representing your company. I think we need to move this item forward for a vote. Any further, Mr. Nahida, any comments or
No, I think, I mean, there must be something about that lease option that's, after explanation, what I see is, I'm more of the lease type, and that's personally, right? But at the end of the day, it's all about what benefits you're gonna achieve and what tax, tax benefits, whatever, what we can take advantage of. That, I don't have a book here to follow, right? But, I mean, what's your recommendation? I mean.
Do we have a,
No, okay.
Mike, could you read the?
On the depreciation, if you know what I
Can
mean.
you read your recommendation? And that way we
No,
can
well,
move-
yeah.
We can move the item forward.
I think our recommended action was just to seek guidance from the board, so it'll be your recommendation.
You want the 3-year and the 5-year lease?
Yeah.
Right. If it's left up to me, then yes, I would recommend a 3-year lease for the 11 units and then a 5-year lease for the other 16 units with the AME.
Okay, is there any movement on this item, any motion to move forward? All right, Mr.
Yeah, there's no.
The item does not have a motion to move forward? I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah, I would recommend, I make a motion that we proceed, but we try to exercise the purchase options on as many of those vehicles as possible, not the lease.
Not the lease.
Yeah.
So your recommendation would be to go through the purchase option.
And I would agree to that, Mr. Vajan, that we move it forward. Administration needs to huddle up again for a purchase on the vehicles that they need for their, for the utility here.
It's hard to go against the banker on something
No,
like
no,
that.
I'm not.
No matter how good looking they are.
No, I
So
don't, I
I'm gonna
do not
second.
know anything about vehicles. Okay, I can barely know how to change oil and a flat tire, and that's about it. I'm not a car guy. Okay, but I still, I think for the reasons that I stated before, for the $400,000 in savings, I understand the maintenance will be higher after the 3 years and the 5 years, but you don't have a lease payment to make. You still have the flexibility to turn it in. I think right now it's just real hard to go against the purchase, and I think it saves us money. And so my motion is to proceed based off purchasing the vehicles as opposed to leasing the vehicles. Now, if you can't find a vehicle, you can't buy it, the only option is to lease, and I'll go ahead and lease if that's your only option.
Okay.
As somebody with a 20-year-old Jeep, I second that motion.
All right, so Mr. Pagano, we do have a motion.
Right.
I'm trying to understand this motion as opposed to the presentation that was presented to us. So the motion is to purchase.
Right. The action item is calling for consideration of the proposals for the vehicle lease program. So I guess the way I would see it is that the motion, it sounds like, is not to proceed with the lease, correct?
We are not proceeding with a lease, but for administration to proceed with a purchase. Is there an amount?
And the amount that he has for the
Right, and that's what's not clear of whether there's already
3 and the
a
5-year.
proposal for purchase of vehicles.
Yeah, we're
yet.
looking at about $1.4 million.
Okay, so we didn't have a motion by Mr. Valjad. We had a second by Dr. Holman. Mr. Mayor, any comments or anything? All right, so all those in agreement, say aye. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those against?
Nay.
We have one nay. This motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike and your team for all this, for this presentation.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're into the stretch, man. Last item we have, presentation, discussion, and possible recommendation on grant management and consulting services agreement renewal. George, you're back on.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and board members. A background on this item. On March 11, 2024, the BPUB board selected iParametrics LLC to provide grant management and consulting services. A one-year agreement between BPUB and iParametrics commenced on May 28, 2024, with provisions for up to 3 one-year renewals. The initial year's cost was estimated at $70,350, with iParametrics expected to assist grant staff in submitting 3 grant applications. During the first year of the agreement, iParametrics assisted grant staff in submitting 4 grant applications totaling $15 million. And these are listed here on the top on the table. The first one under the WaterSmart program for the 2 new wells at the SRWA. The grant request was $8.7 million, and that was submitted on October 2024 with the iParametrics involvement. Then Two more requests were submitted to the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. One for the Water Plant 2 microgrid backup generator for $4.1 million, and the other one for the Water Plant 2 water pumping station backup generator for $2.2 million, and these were submitted in April 2025. And the last one, a small grant, Water Smart Small Scale Water Efficiency Projects Program, and this is to expand the Go Green rebate program for $125,000, and this was submitted on January 2025. Other services that iParametrics provide, it's compliance with the Davis-Bacon Act, which basically ensures compliance with wages paid to their employees working on the project. Also, the need assessments, they conducted need assessments, meetings with various divisions, and also they conduct regular meetings with grant staff to discuss potential grant opportunities. These are future potential grant requests we're currently exploring, where we may use iParametrics technical assistance depending on the application requirements. Any questions before going to the recommendation?
Comments or questions on this item?
How has it been working with these people?
It is going well. They complement the team that we have. And we have one senior grants coordinator and a grants coordinator, so they complement each other. We only use them as needed, so I think it's working. It's good to have that resource.
And how many of these grants did they bring to your attention?
Not, these grants are still under review, so we have not received a response yet.
Well, no, but how many of them were you going to apply to with or without them? How many of them did they
We
bring
plan to use them for the first one, the EDA, because the complexity of the application, we plan to use them on that one. The other ones, we're still looking into those, so we don't know the requirements of the application, so it depends on the complexity.
George, how many grant writers do we have?
We have two grant coordinators, but they're not only focused on the grant writing, they do from grant writing to compliance to closing up the.
We have two, and then y'all are suggesting that we spend another $70,000 for this consulting?
Up to 70.
How much is a grant coordinator earning, Marilyn, more or less?
Are you asking how much are their salaries?
Their salary, how much is their, is there an idea?
Like 70,000 plus,
Well,
60.
I remember
60.
when this item came up, and I thought that they were going to phase in more grant coordinators and phase out consulting, but if y'all feel that y'all need another year of this, I thought this department was going to go independent. Those are my thoughts.
Let me just add that most of the work, I mean, it's once you apply for a grant, great. I mean, we get it as great, but most of the work is involving the compliance in the day-to-day maintenance of that grant, which is double checking the expenses and submitting the monthly, quarterly report. So there's a lot of, after you get the grant, that's when the work starts. So
I understand. So you have a recommendation?
Just that the city has a company as well that monitors compliance for its grants.
Okay, y'all believe it has value and y'all have recommended this? Do we have a motion?
May I read the?
I'm sorry.
The staff recommends a one-year contract renewal with iParametrics LLC for grant management and consulting services for an amount not to exceed 70,000.
Okay, we have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
I will move to approve the recommendation.
I second that.
We have a motion by Dr. Holman, a second by Mr. Martinez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against, this motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Santillan. Now, let me read the following before I'll accept a motion to move into a closed meeting. Recess a closed meeting to consider matters pursuant to Texas Government Code Chapter 551. At this time, the items on the agenda designated for closed meeting will be considered if there is an approved motion to go into closed meetings. Those items that we are going to discuss: meeting with the board's legal counsel for advice about contemplated and pending court and administrative litigation, and on matters in which the duty of the attorney under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct conflicts with Chapter 551, Section 551.071, including but not limited to the following: reports of local and special counsel, including regarding potential and pending litigation involving Brownsville PUB, updates on pending discussions with City of Brownsville, including MOU and BTX lit strikes, updates on contract negotiations related to large-scale business development, and exposure to effects of tariffs. Presentation, discussion, and possible recommendation of information upon pricing of purchased power generation fuel and their impact upon the fuel purchased energy and marketing charge, Section 551.086. Discussion regarding a proposed contract for the provision of water to SpaceX, Section 551.071. Discussion and possible action regarding the annual performance evaluation compensation of the general manager and chief executive officer, Section 551.074 and Section 551.071. Those are the items that we will take back into executive. Do I have a motion to move into a closed meeting?
I make the motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Vergara to move into closed meeting. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Dr. Holman. All those in favor of moving into closed session?
Aye.
Say
Aye.
All those against? This motion passes. We're moving into closed meeting at 7 o'clock. Exactly. Thank you. Okay, we're back from executive session. It is 8:20. We do have a couple items to address coming back from closed session. Mr. Pequeño, can you help us with this, please?
Yes, just for the minutes, I wanted to note that Dr. Holman exited the closed session from 7:27 to 7:45 and did not participate in the discussion of item number 3 for closed session.
I'd like to know how many cookies. Okay.
As far as action items, again, no action was taken during closed. For item number 4, discussion and possible action regarding the annual performance evaluation and compensation of the general manager and chief executive officer pursuant to section 551074 and 551071. Is there a motion to proceed as discussed in executive?
I move to proceed as discussed in executive.
We have a motion to move.
Second?
We have a second to move, as we discussed at executive. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? This motion passes.
And then the next one is consideration, discussion, possible action to approve the proposed contract for the provision of water to SpaceX. Is there a motion to authorize the general manager and CEO to negotiate and enter a contract with SpaceX for the provision of water subject to legal review and approval?
I so move.
A second?
We have a motion by Mr. Martinez, second by Mr. Varela. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against?
Please
Mo-
note that I did not vote.
Correct.
Dr. Holman,
Dr. Holman was abstaining from that
for the
vote.
record, abstained on this item. So this motion passes with one abstention. Anything else, Mr. Pequeño?
That's all.
Okay. Let's see. Do we have any possible action items to this, for the future? Discussion, consideration, discussion, possible action to, I'm sorry, consideration, action on future agenda items. Any items for the board members to place on the agenda? All right.
No items, but we do have something, a little something for you, Art. If you don't mind.
I was gonna make a getaway.
And it's a cookie. No, we just wanted to thank you for. Thank you for your time. Obviously.
Thank you, everyone. I'm not big on recognition, but I do appreciate it. The 4 years went by pretty fast, as you can see. I think you might see me one more meeting, a special called meeting. So this isn't the end yet, but I do appreciate the entire PUB family for all the courtesies they've extended to me, particularly Norman and Rosie that I bother all the time and going back and forth, taking care of business. But the utility's in good hands. It's a great board. It's been an honor to work with all the board members here. And I look forward to that next special call meeting. And maybe we'll get some Rudies. Thank you for this.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your leadership.
Move to adjourn?
Yes. Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to move to adjourn. We have a second.
I second that.
All those in favor
Say
to
aye.
adjourn this
Aye.
meeting?
Aye.
All those against? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.